take this all the way to the Prime Minister. Hey, Mr. Prime Minister!
Oh, that's it. I'm going to report this to me Member of Parliament.
Hello and welcome to the penultimate round of the PMR Porsche Cup. Said that slightly wrong, but there's a lot of P's in there. Round 9, penultimate round here at Silverstone, the home of British Motorsport and most of motorsport in general, to be fair. We have two championship leaders who are hoping to battle it out on this historically fantastic circuit that pretty much brings us brilliant racing no matter what car you put on it. And yeah, Matt Allen, David Ward, who's going to come out on top? Well, if we're talking about Monza, Matt Allen, qualifying on pole position, really did not come out on top. He had a pretty poor night, even... oh my god, I've just seen that we've had a car off on the bottom-hand side there. I'm not entirely sure. That's the 911 car. That's a very odd place to flip it. Matt Allen... Oh, I've got my train of thought now. Yeah, so Matt Allen was not ideal in terms of his positioning and his braking, let's put it that way. David Ward eventually took a race victory, but after being punted off in the first race by Matt Allen, he would say it's probably what he deserved. And you'd probably be right as well. Dave Newsom's also been around and about, but without further ado, whilst we're waiting for qualifying to get underway, let's take you through on what happened by showing you, basically. Don't have any highlights, but what we do have is the championship order. So, as you can see, David Ward's still on top of the pile then. He extended his lead. It was only 2 points going into Monza, but today it's more than, well, a lot more than that. It's, if my maths is correct, which it quite often isn't, I think that's 19 points. David Ward then with the 5th and a 1st, after it may well have been a 1st and a 2nd, and then another 1st. But unfortunately, he had a collision with Matt Allen, who finished 7th and 15th, and has 209 total points. Dave Newsham now with the 3rd and the 6th has 181 points. He's in 3rd place with Lee Horn now in 4th. Will Orton, although he hasn't even been here for the past 7 weeks, he's still in 5th place in the championship. That's just how commanding he was in the first 3 weeks of this round. Jeff Perkis in 6th place with Jamie Dory in 7th. Freddie Hewitt is in 8th. He wasn't at Monza though, which is unfortunate. Michael Seal in 9th, and that first race showed the pace that he had. The second race didn't really go his way. Colin Martin with a 15th and a 10th ends up in 10th place overall. That is not the correct picture. Give me 2 seconds, ladies and gents. Apologies about this. Apparently that is the correct picture. It was just with a different background, which is very odd. Josh Malin then in 11th place, although he hasn't been here since the 2nd round of the championship. So again, quite impressive from Josh, the fact that he managed to mop up that many points in just 2 rounds. Jochen Sigert is in 12th place, and it's worth noting that Jochen is a next gen runner. He isn't part of the team that will appear on iRacing. He is part of the next gen. Bobby Thompson in 13th place, Lee Demon 14th, Matthew Addy in 15th, Matt Hodges in 16th, Thomas Delaney 17th, Sam Holman 18th, Ollie Wayne in 19th, and Jamie Nicholson in 20th. '21st down to 30th. You can see there we've had a whole host of drivers join us for this very good, very fun, sort of fast and frantic Porsche series here at Next Gen. But as you can see there, not a lot of them continue to stay the course, and that's why they're dropping down the order. We do have a fourth page, but it's all the way down to 35th in the end. But those drivers haven't turned up for a very long time, so I won't be bothering putting that up on the screen at the moment. But you can see the top 10 rounds that we've got today. We've had 9 of them already. Nurburgring Nordschleife is the finale. That's going into next week, and I'm sure Matt Allen will be hoping that he's going to close up on David Ward for the rest of the night, and we'll be able to bring you all the action as soon as qualifying gets underway, which should only be about another minute or two now. We've got 2 races tonight with you, and we've also got 2 qualifying. So those who haven't necessarily joined us before, well, we've got 2 qualifyings, one of which is a 10-minute qualifying. That's the first of the night, and that kicks off, as I said, in about a minute's time. We're then going into a first sprint race, a 15-minute sprint race, followed by a 15-minute qualifying session, followed by the feature race of the evening, a 45-minute, well, I was going to say a 45-minute sprint race. That's what it feels like sometimes, but it is the feature race of the evening. A little bit more planning has to go into that one, a little bit more consistency, less gung-ho action, and it brings a touch of strategy along with it in terms of keeping after the tyres. But at Silverstone circuit, it's not often that the tyres are really that much of a problem. So we'll see how they get on. And we are about to jump into qualifying, so I shall take you back to the action. Come on, Lee Horn, says Fraser Rostons. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'm pleased to have everybody along. And with any luck, you'll enjoy the racing just as much as I ever do on the Porsche PMR Cup. We'll try and get as much action coming your way as soon as possible, including qualifying, which is, as I said, coming up. Now, this is, in fact, where were we on board then? Just having a look at the order to see if anybody we've got an addition anywhere or not. Chris Knox in the... Oh, I'm a big fan of that, Chris. I know you've been in touch with me over the past couple of days about another series, but I'm really pleased that that livery has made an appearance tonight. If anybody's not familiar with the Simpsons episode that is in reference to, you need to get yourself educated, because that is an absolute cracker. Probably actually not entirely PC these days, thinking about the episode back now. It's been a long time since I watched it, but it's probably not entirely appropriate. But it's still sort of one that a lot of fans look back at fondly. Let's have a look elsewhere. Jack Fielder Clifford, he showed great pace, never really showed the race pace or racecraft to go with it last time out. Let's hope that he can turn that around a little bit. Let me know if the sound and everything is okay. I'm aware that I think I turned iRacing down the other day, so I'm going to just bump that up very quickly. And hope that is a little bit better for you, because obviously we want some engine noise in there. Even though you may want to have my wonderful voice echoing over the top of it. And I have forgotten to take away the proper overlay. There we go. So you guys can see qualifying. Hello, Louis. Nice of you to tune in. Hope you're looking forward to Sunday with the Skip Barber series. That's going to be absolutely awesome. We are covering, in fact, actually, over the weekend, I've got 2 gigs. Tomorrow, I've got, with Absolute Sim Racing, we're covering some 4-hour endurance event. I wish I could give you more details in case you wanted to tune into it, but Dan hasn't provided me with any yet, so I can't provide you with that. I'm going to try and get him to persuade him to stream it onto the channel as well, so keep an eye out on that. Otherwise, it's on Absolute Sim Racing on YouTube. Louis, thank you very much for the like on the stream. And then on Sunday, we're actually streaming the Sunday drivers for Sim Racers World. So that, again, that won't be on my channel, but I will try and share it to it if I get the time. Gavin Allen, thank you very much for the like on the stream as well. One of the many people that we got watching us today, which is absolutely fantastic. We're in qualifying. Drivers are just warming themselves up and making sure that their tyres are nice and hot as they start to attack the Silverstone circuit. In the first instance of qualifying, because there are 2 instances of qualifying, you probably won't see them jump in for a pit stop unless they're really confident they can get the full 1 lap pace out of a hot lap, in which case they'll jump in, put some new tyres and then try again. In the second qualifying though, which you're likely to see at about 10 to 9, then you can expect to see a few more drivers jumping into the pits and trying to change on their tyres. Thank you very much to Den Allen. Nice to have the like from you. I hope you're going to enjoy it. David Ward is the driver that we've got to keep an eye out. He's put in 5 purple sectors. Admittedly, not a difficult feat to do when you are pretty much the only driver that's out there setting a lap time at the moment. And I don't think he even set a lap time because I don't think it was valid. I think he cut the corner. I could be wrong, but no drivers have actually finished, including David Ward, actually. So he hasn't actually completed this lap. I keep forgetting that the timing strip is over the Silverstone F1 straight and not the National Pit straight, which is where I'm used to driving it. So as David Ward is rounding out the final corner here, let's see what kind of lap time he's going to put in. And let's see where everybody else can sort of try and match him. He has got 5 purple sectors at the moment, so I very much doubt he's going to be beaten. And with a 2:06, Colin Martin with a 2:09, my bet came to fruition. Over the line goes Matt Allen, and he actually has a 2:09 as well. So everybody else taking a touch more time than David Ward to warm up these tyres and get the pace in the Porsche at the moment. Ollie Wayne sits in second place, and the RAF car looking very smart. Matt Hodges. Now, you can't see the thumbnail at the moment, but the thumbnail will be of Mr. Hodges' car, which I thought last time made a bit of a splash, a bit of an appearance at Monza. I thought it looked pretty cool, so it's going to be the thumbnail for this video as well. As soon as we're finished, basically, I shall tag that to the video, so anybody who goes back and watches it will be introduced, first of all, by Mr. Hodges' car. So David Ward again purpled the first sector, but he is on a slower second. So let's have a look and see how the third is going as he goes into Copse. Coming out of it now, this is obviously the National Pit first corner, going towards the wonderful section of Mackett's, Beckett's and Church. Another purple sector for David Ward. Then he's really on a flyer at the moment. And in fact, I can see him. Only one driver, Matthew Hodges, has actually beaten a sector of his time yet, and that was in the 5th sector. Having said that, Dave Newsham's on a charge. The Newsham nutters are going to be very pleased about this. 2 purple sectors, Sector 2 and Sector 3. The first 2 weren't quite as quick. He's about 10th off, but he's a couple of hundredths quicker than David Ward in the second and 3rd sector at the moment. So let's see how he slings together the 4th. David Ward is improving, but Dave Newsham yet again gets a purple sector. So we could see Dave Newsham make an attack for the pole position here. It's just whether or not the purples are good enough to overhaul what is a monster first sector by David Ward. Coming through the Vale section now, over across the final corner and the start finishing line. Let's have a look and see where Dave Newsham goes. It's pole position for him at the moment by 0.2 of a second. Matt Hodges a 2:06 in 3rd. David Ward a 2:06 in 2nd place. Dave Newsham a 2:05. Absolute flying there. Most drivers have managed to put in a lap time now. No one triggered track limits. Matt Allen, I'm sure, will be hoping to improve. He can only do a 2:07 at that time round. He's in 6th place, and if he wants to try and catch up with David Ward into the finale around the Nordschleife, where it is just going to be a fight of who's going to basically finish overall, then he's going to need to get a little bit of a hurry on. Let me know how the stream's looking, how it's sounding, if it's sounding okay and all that sort of thing. I do like to have the feedback. Am I a little bit too loud? Are the cars a little bit too quiet? You know, all that sort of thing would be really helpful to Anybody who's out there sort of listening and watching, that sort of feedback would be absolutely cracking. And if you can give it a share and a like and a comment and everything like that, it all adds to the fun. The more people we get in the stream, chatting, commenting, the more I have to talk to, basically. I don't have a co-commentator with me tonight. We don't tend to do that on a Friday night. So anybody wants to have a chat with me, then I'm happy and more than available. As Matt Allen hunkers up behind Sam Holman to try and get the slipstream. Sam now jumps to the inside to let Matt through. David Ward has taken a purple sector away from Dave Newsham, but Matt Allen's gone very wide after he purpled the second sector. This fourth isn't going to count. He's going to have an off track, unfortunately. David Ward goes pole position then with a 205.8, 900ths of a second quicker than Dave Newsham, who is still out there. What's he rotating in? He's still got the purple fourth sector. But I'm not sure. No, this is not going to be. So the previous lap was quicker for Dave, but it's not enough to stave off the attack from Dave Ward. Bit of a shame for Dave Newsham, but it looks like it's lining up to be a really good battle between these two. The only two drivers that have so far cracked the 2-minute 5-second mark. Matt Hodges has taken a brave approach, and he dived into the pits. Now, he hasn't got long until, well, we've already got 40 seconds until we are actually finishing and dropping the checkered flag. So I think Matt Hodges, he tried to get in and change tyres, but the problem with Silverstone is it's such a long circuit, you don't actually have that much time to jump in. Then you have an almost 2-minute 30 outlap as Dave Newsham gives up the ghost and accepts that he's going to be in second place. Jack Fielder Clifford, again in fourth place. Good running by Jack so far, but he's not actually shown the pace in racing as he has in qualifying. That could all change though. Maybe he's a bit more familiar with Silverstone than he was with Monza and how people may react. Jochen Sigert is the driver that's next to come across the line, and he's putting in some green lap times. He needs to, because at the moment he's not qualified at all. He's all the way down to 17th place. The only driver who's yet to actually complete a full lap, and as the checkered flag drops, he's going to finally finish his full lap, spin it into the pit wall, but it doesn't matter. What does he get? 17th position. He didn't actually manage to get any kind of pace out of the car at all there, unfortunately, as a few other drivers are starting to give up the ghost now. David Ward is, at the moment, back out there. I'm not entirely sure what he's doing. The checkered flag has been dropped, so we'll have a look at Jeff Perkins, who's currently in 5th place. Lee Horn is in 6th, and I don't think either of these drivers... Wow, Jeff Perkins, it looks like he's on some green sectors. I'm not sure how much he'll be able to improve, though. He can absolutely pull that one out of the bag. He's got a green sector here in Sector 3. What's Sector 4 got in store for him, as we see a driver in the background there locking up, coming to a stop and probably pulling into the pits. Doesn't use all the track there, does Jeff? He could have probably run a little bit wider, but he has set 2 green sectors. So we could be seeing an improvement here from Mr. Perkis. He is only 100th of a second behind Jack Fielder Clifford in Sector 1. His Sector 2 is actually quite a lot quicker. His Sector 3 is as well. So I think we could be seeing an improvement in terms of track position here from Jeff Perkis. Can he put it on the second row of the grid? He comes across the line, and it's a 2-minute 7.1. I am not sure where that went wrong. It went wrong in the 5th sector, so the final sector, it went horribly wrong for Jeff. Jamie Dory's still out there somewhere. Probably doesn't need to be out there. His car's looking a little worse for wear, with what is Thomas Delaney still rotating in the car, in the track as well. So we'll be able to bring you the grid as soon as possible. Katie Eames, I thought you'd hop up sooner rather than later. Thank you very much for the like and the share. Happy Friday, everyone, and shout out to Jochen, says Steve Pitt as well. Jochen Sigert in 17th. Let's see what he can do from there. A bit of shaking and baking, moving and through the order, I'm sure. As all the drivers have now taken the checkered flag, we should be able to bring you the grid for race 1. And in fact, there we go. So Dave Ward on pole position is confirmed from Dave Newsham. Matt Hodges and Jack Fielder Clifford round out the second row of the grid, with Jeff Perkis, who failed to improve his time on the 5th sector, lines up next to Lee Horn. Matt Allen, all the way down in 7th place, will not be assisting his road to the championship. Michael Seal in 8th next to him, Colin Martin in 9th, and Andrew Holmes rounding out the top 10. Jamie Dory 11th and Sam Holman in 12th. 13th is Thomas Delaney with Chris Knox in 14th. Ollie Wayne in 15th with Matthew Addy in 16th. Jochen Sigger rounds out the grid in 17th position. So, if you're just joining us, welcome to the penultimate round of the Porsche PMR Cup. It's been an absolute rollercoaster ride of a season. But we'll get back to that in a minute because we've got the red lights about to come on. The engine notes are rising. So for the first time here at Silverstone on a Friday night, we're going to be racing, and away they go. And it's Jeff Perkins with an awful start. It's Matt Allen with an absolute terrific start. Matt Hodges has gained around the outside to Dave Newsham as well. And this looks like David Ward is going to run away slightly on the first lap. Matt Hodges keeps off Dave Newsham, but Matt Allen has gained 3 positions to try and knock on the door of these challengers. Here he is now as we're following them through the second of the 2 hairpins. There's a bit of a bun fight in behind here, and in fact there's a spin. Sam Holman's looking the wrong way, and I think Lee Horn is as well. So Lee Horn, Sam Holman and Ollie Wayne, who started in 15th, he's still in 15th. A few drivers getting mixed up in the action there, to say the least. This is Chris Knox in the what is unmistakably Chris Knox's car, put it that way. We'll have a look at that incident in a minute, but we'll also be checking up, obviously, pretty frequently with Matt Allen as he tries to catch up to David Ward in the points. The way it's going at the moment, and obviously in qualifying, David Ward is only extending his lead at the front of the championship. Dave Newsham has qualified in 2nd place. He's in 3rd at the moment, though, and Matt Hodges with an absolute flyover start. Oh, Matt Allen with a big moment coming out of Cops. A great catch from him. We'll see if we can get a little bit of an onboard with that, because it was absolutely cracking. I'm not sure if it counts as an off-track. I may be able to bring it back for us. So he has dropped, though, compared to the rest of the track. The rest of this little pack, sorry. And Dave Newsham now is the driver we're going to go on board with, sorry. Because as he's lining up Matt Hodges in the Solar Sim Racing car. Oh, it's a late dive by Newsham. How much does Matthew Hodges know about that one? And he's given him enough room on the apex and carried the speed around the outside as well. So going into with no source just yet. David Ward in 1st place, though. He'll be looking in the rearview mirror thinking, okay, lads, you can crack on, you can fight it out, I'll just drive away from everybody, particularly the man who's currently in 4th place. So, what's happened to Dave Newsham? Has he got a slowdown there? I was not looking at that, but what's happened to him? It's had just a big lunge up the inside from Matt Allen, I'm not sure. He got the car stopped nice and early. It looks like Dave Newsham just wasn't quite on the money there. So Matt Allen is now up to 3rd place with Dave Newsham in 4th. It looked like he almost had a slowdown, but I don't know where he would have got the slowdown. Maybe going through Abbey. So Hodges is now the driver who's free to attack David Ward. I think Dave's going to take a lot of stopping. It was only really Newsham who got near him in qualifying. Maybe Matt Hodges, if he didn't take the strategy to try and get new tyres on, would have got a little bit closer. But it was just, you know, at the end of the day, it's a long track when you have to do an in-lap and an out-lap during a 10-minute qualifying session. It basically takes up half the qualifying session, because it takes about 2.5 minutes to do an out-lap. So if you do one at the beginning of the session, then try and fit another one in, you are probably not going to get the amount of laps. You will only get 2 flying laps, and that is without an in-lap. So, yeah, Hodges probably mistaking that one there as he comes out of church. And the Porsche is starting to line up really rather smoothly. We have had a couple of incidents, obviously, and we'll try and bring you them in a second. But right now, I want to have a look at Jack Fielder-Clifford, who, again, showed real promise in qualifying. Oh, I'll tell you what, that's a big lunge up the inside, but he's just about managed to hold on to the brakes long enough not to go into the backside of Michael Seal. Rather lucky for both involved, I feel there. But again, Fielder-Clifford's looking up the inside. It's just, he's not shy in showing his nose, is he? Let's put it that way, is Jack. Last week at Monza, he had good qualifying pace, like I mentioned before, but the race didn't go his way, and it looks like it's a repeat of the same here as they cross the line to start the something lap of the race. I think it's the 3rd lap of the race, with 4.5 minutes gone of this 15-minute sprint race that we have opening the evening here tonight. So let's have a look at what happened earlier on. Sam Holman, in the fast R car, going into the first chicane. Oh, is he just running a little bit wide there? That's Lee Horn, I think, up the inside of him. Jochen Sigert, actually. No, it's not Jochen Sigert. I think that's Colin Martin turns him round. Colin Martin. Let's have a look at that again. So keep an eye out on one of the drivers, not the 14 car. The 13 car there. Now that is Colin Martin, and he gets a tap round, and unfortunately Chris Knox then goes into the back of Lee Horn. I don't know if you caught that one. Let's have a quick peek at that one. He's the number 4 car, is Lee. And just keep an eye out for the pink Chris Knox livery. Just coming up behind as Lee has to slam the brakes on. There we go. He just gets a little tap around because Chris didn't get on the brakes early enough. Whether or not that was his fault, you probably can't blame him too much. Ollie Wayne, though, is he involved in this, even though he's quite far back? Let's have a quick look. Going through, he sees a car in front of him. Oh, he has to just take aversive action, diverting action even, and just running a touch wide. So that is what happened to that. Thomas Delaney's had an off as well at some point. It's a couple of minutes to go. What's going to happen is he's just going to rotate the rear end. Yeah, that's relatively easy done on those sort of slow speed corners, especially if you haven't quite warmed the tyres up. Ollie Wayne has also had a incident in the RAF car. He's following the number 12 here of Jochen Sigert. Oh, and he rotates the rear as well, and that's very easily done. That's you have to hit the brakes in a straight line, otherwise that happens. And last but not least, right now has been an incident for Matthew Addy. He's got the number 16 car of Andrew Holmes, who I've missed. Actually, he's a newcomer. And is there a touch there between Holmes and Addy? I think what we'll have to do is just have a quick look at that from Holmes' perspective and get an education on this, my dear Watson. Oh, I don't know. That didn't sound like there was much of a touch. I'll let the stewards decide on that one. But Addy is now past Holmes, so maybe that indicated that Holmes felt bad and gave him the position back. David Ward, though, is in the lead of the race. 2 minutes 6 is his best lap so far, with Matt Hodges in second place. Only 0.3 of a second the gap in the previous lap was pulled. He's a second and a half off David Ward, and Matt Allen is a second and a half off Matt Hodges. However, Matt Allen does have Dave Newsham for company. So Dave, who obviously qualified very well, has carried that pace over into the race with a 2 minute 6.1. Remember, he was in the 2 minute 5s. So I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls one of them out at some point during this race, especially if he's hunkered up behind Matt Allen, who has managed to get his way up to third position, and he started in 7th. So that is a pretty good start from Matt, and exactly what he needed, considering he didn't pull the pace out of the bag in qualifying. Took maybe one or two too many safe decisions, not trying to get the extra runoff or cut the corner too much in case he gets a slowdown or something. But or an off track, meaning that he would actually lose the lap. So I can understand why it may happen. But we're currently looking at Dave Newsham. Holmes and Addy are going side by side pretty much in the background, but we're keeping an eye on this as Newsham almost goes into the backside of Matt Allen. And we've said it time and time again. We had 3 or 4, we had 3 pro drivers. Obviously, Dave Newsham's a pro driver as well. But we had 3 pro drivers in Josh Malin, Bobby Thompson, and Will Orton. And they stole the show in the first couple of rounds. But as they've dropped out, I did fear whether the quality and the excitement of the racing would carry on, because they produce some awesome stuff. But Dave Newsham's producing something awesome here as well, as he slots up the inside of Matt Allen, exactly where Allen did to Dave earlier on in this race, and it's gone into third place. And that is Dave Newsham saying, thank you very much. I know I got the pace. I had the slipstream. Thank you very much. I'll take the podium position. But is there going to be a fight back from Matt Allen as they head down towards Brooklands and Luffield? Allen keeps onto the racing line. He's too far back. But behind these two is Jack Fielder-Clifford going up the inside of Jeff Perkis, thinking, yeah, I'll have a go if you fancy it. If Jeff, you're going to run wide there, I'll slot that one up the inside. Solar Sim Racing blinding the opposition, going into that Brooklands left-hander. We had a couple of other incidents as well, which we'll quickly have a look at. Colin Martin has had a bit of a crash. And I think this is probably just going to be a spin. It doesn't look like there's anybody else around him yet. Coming into the final corner. There it is. He's going to hit the wall. Just a touch. And I think he then spins round. Does he actually collect someone? I hope not. It says he's got another crash somewhere coming up, though. Let's have a look and skip to it. That's the same incident as what we've just seen. And actually, well, apparently that registered as 3 crashes. Sam Holman, what's happened to him? Is he about to do exactly what Colin Martin did? It's so difficult. You have to balance the throttle. If you have too much throttle on, the rear will just spin round. If you take it too much off, the rear will spin round. It's all a balancing act in these Porsches. They're so back heavy. So, as we have a look at Matt Allen, Dave Newsham ahead, we'll give you a bit of a rundown as we go into the final 5 minutes of this race. Dave Ward in first. He qualified on pole. He's still there. Matt Hodges in second. Dave Newsham in third, with Matt Allen in fourth, and Jack Fielder Clifford in fifth. Jeff Perkis is in sixth, with Jamie Dory up to seventh place, up 4 positions. Michael Seal is exactly where he qualified in eighth, and in ninth place is the man who's gained the joint most amount of positions so far in this race, is Chris Knox. Andrew Holmes in 10th place, and Matthew Addy, who's gained 5, up to 11th. Jochen Siggert has also gained 5 and is up to 12th. Oh, as he locks it wide, though, he could well lose out a place to his teammate Lee Horn, who's trying to fight back as best as he can. He's actually purpled. Sector 1 has Lee Horn. So he's clearly not trying to hang around, and Lee actually was right at the back of the field. He was stone dead last in 17th place, and he's fought his way up all the way to 13th so far. And if Jochen Siggert keeps making mistakes like he's just done, I wouldn't be surprised if Lee gains another place. So Dave Ward then, all the way in the lead of this race, 1.7 seconds ahead of Matt Hodges. Not putting a foot wrong yet. In fact, he just keeps gaining about 0.3 of a second per lap on Matt. And it's interesting. It'll be interesting to know if David is actually pushing this car or not, because he's only rotating in 2 minutes 6.4s in his qualifying pace, although he may have a different setup for qualifying, as most drivers do. It was a 2 minute 5.8, so a full 0.6 of a second quicker than what he is actually currently rotating the lap in. Matt Allen and Dave Newsham are still going hammer and tongs at each other as we head towards what may well be the final lap of the race. I think this is going to be the penultimate lap, because I think Dave Ward's about to cross the line. As he crosses the line, we've got about 2 minutes and 20 seconds left, which means this will be the penultimate lap of the race. We're going on to, which is good news for the likes of Matt Allen, who's only 0.3 behind. Dave Newsham, who has a big snap of oversteer coming out of Abbey. Is he going to be able to defend it into the first of the 2 hairpins? Just about. That's a scary moment from Newsham. I wish we could have a look at it. Matt Hodges has had a crash. Matt Hodges has spun round. So all of a sudden, this is a race for second place. Matt Allen needs to get past Dave Newsham if he's got any hope of holding on to the championship battle. We'll have a look at Hodges' crash in a second as Allen looks up the inside of the pro racing driver Dave Newsham. Well, ex-pro racing driver Dave Newsham probably now, as he runs Callum more often than not, who hasn't seemed to have turned up tonight. Bit of a shame, but maybe he's been working. Somebody, I'm sure, will be letting us know in the chat. Dave Ward has now got a 4.7 second gap in the lead of the race, which means he'll be pretty much away with the fairies. And he will really just, calm everything down to make sure he doesn't spin this car. Matt, though, he really needs to push that Misty Racing machine all the way to the ragged edge now if he's got any hope of clawing back to second place and clawing some valuable championship points back on. 2 minutes 6.9 is actually Dave Newsham's fastest lap so far, and it was his last lap of the race as well. So he's about half a second off the likes of the race lead at the moment, even though he was only a 10th off in qualifying. Chris Knox has had an incident and has fallen down as well. He's in 15th place now. We will have a look at all the incidents when we get a little bit of a break. But Matt Allen's not giving us a break here into Stowe. Oh, I thought he was going to have a big lunge up the inside, but it's not yet. He's trying to carry as much momentum on the inside as he can, but he misses a touch of apex there, which Dave Newsham hooks up nicely. Now, Dave is accustomed to absorbing all the pressure in the real life world, but I once asked him at Alton Park, what is it like absorbing pressure in the sim world compared to the racing world, and he said it helps a bit, but at the end of the day, you got an awful lot more to think about when you're in a car in terms of the grip levels and stuff. And in the sim, you start to sweat a bit more. He doesn't feel as comfortable in the sim as he does in real life, put it that way. We're on to the final lap of the race. We only crossed the line with about 10 seconds to go, so it will be a slightly long race here, 17 minutes roughly, that we're going to have. Now, I tell you what, Jeff Perkins isn't giving up the ghost for fourth place, either as Matt Allen's dropped back just a touch through their first sector there. Let's have a look at what happened to Matt Hodges then. So he was in a world of his own here, and I fear that it's just the rear end's going to rotate round on him. I think he holds the brakes on for a touch too long. Yeah, you can see him there. He didn't slow the car down enough. He slams the brakes on it, rear rotates the car, and it's lucky, actually, that Dave Newsham and Matt Allen didn't run into the back of him. Sam Holman's had a crash. Is this going into Stowe? It's not going into Stowe. No, it was going into Stowe. And again, a rear rotation. And we'll have a look at a few of the other crashes in a couple of seconds. But we want to have a look at Matt Allen now as we're on board with him to try and catch up to the likes of Dave Newsham now. Obviously, David Ward will be having a watch of him, keeping an eye, making sure that he's going to be finishing this race in the lead. He's got a 5-second gap. It'd have to be something that would have to go horrendously wrong for him not to be in the lead. But this is where we're keeping an eye on at the moment, and it's clear to see why. There is a few other races in the background as well. Unfortunately, that mid-pack that's just behind these two having a real good ding-dong. Having a look though at David Ward. In fact, now we're gonna come back to David Ward because it looked like Matt Allen was going up the inside there. No, not quite. Is Jeff Perkins going up the inside? No, not quite. So David Ward, as he goes into the final sector, we'll watch him as he crosses the line. In first place, he's led from the front, qualified on pole position convincingly by about a tenth and a half of a second, and he's going to be coming across the line to take the victory in the first race of the PMR Porsche Cup here at Silverstone. Matt Allen threw everything he had at Dave Newsham, but it wasn't to be. There's a spin there. Who is that for? Jamie Dory. And is he going to reverse across the line? He does just about get across the line compared to Michael Seal. So Dory holds on to that 7th place that he worked so hard to get. Feel that Clifford ended up in 4th, if anybody was wondering. So whilst everybody is currently trying to get around to get across the the start-finish line, Sam Holman's the driver we're going to be waiting for. So let's have a quick look at a few of the other incidents. Chris Knox here, what's happened to him? He's fighting with the number 57 car of, I'm not entirely sure who that is, but his rear end goes round at him. I think in this 45-minute race, we're going to see an awful lot of that. Oh, I'll tell you what, Ollie Wade got away with that one, didn't he? He was very close. What happened to Sam Holman then in the 911 Fast Star machine? Oh yeah, again, rear end. This is going to be a bun fight of a 45-minute race, isn't it, ladies and gents? So as we watch David Ward come across the line, we're just waiting for the results to come up on our screen and be available to us. I hope everybody enjoyed that. Jonas Lindberg, miss you as a commentator. Jonas, don't be like that. You'll make me blush. Uber close between first and second quality times. Absolutely was there, Katie. Yeah. Jonas Lindberg, thank you very much for the like as well on the stream. It's been awesome to have you down to watch this one. It's been thrilling all season, to be honest. You need to get iRacing. You need to get on this, Jonas. That's what you need to do. Sorry, just trying to get the results up, and I realise I'm being an idiot. That's why they're not coming up. There we go. David Ward then confirmed the first victor of the evening for the Porsche PMR Cup, round 9, the penultimate round. He extends the championship lead. Dave Newsham is in second place with Matt Allen, not at all clawing back any points on his competitor David Ward, but not losing too many either, has to be said. He threw everything at Dave Newsham, but it wasn't to be. Jack Fielder Clifford in 4th with Jeff Perkins in 5th. Matthew Hodges ended up in 6th place after running so solidly in 2nd place for such a long time in that race. Jamie Dory in 7th place, Michael Seal in 8th, Andrew Holmes in 9th place, with Matthew Eddy in 10th. Colin Martin in 11th place. Jochen Sigert gaining a couple of places, in fact 5 places, up to 12th. He qualified in 17th. Ollie Wayne in 13th. Lee Horn was in 14th in the end after a spin earlier on in the race, in the 3rd corner in fact, with Thomas Delaney 15th, Sam Holman in 16th, and a lap down in the end was Chris Knox. So that is how we're going to finish this first race. And I'm just going to have a look and see if there is anybody who fancies having a chat to us. In fact, there's a couple of drivers. So we're going to drag in David Ward, winner of the race number 1. And to be honest, Dave, for you, there's not much to talk about, is there?
I don't know. There's quite a bit. I mean, I don't know why, but I was pretty nervous on the front row. It was great qualifying from Newsham as well, and I thought, all right, I've got to really push this, and I managed to get pole. I got an absolute blinding start, and then Matthew was behind quite close, and I thought, okay, he's going to start pressuring me maybe, and I managed to eke out a second gap, break the draft, and then just put my head down, and yeah, that was it. That was the race. It was good. I like races like that.
I was going to say, most drivers do enjoy a quiet race when they're all at the front, don't they? Yeah. It's, that qualifying, though, you said it was very close, didn't you? I mean, it was hundredths of a second between you, and you both cracked the 2 minute and 5s. Was that something that you were doing in practice? Or is that something that you really had to pull out of the bag there because you saw how quick Newsham was?
I've done it. I've done a 205 in practice, like 205.9 or something in practice. But yeah, it was that I only did it once. So I thought, maybe not get that again. But yeah, I had to pull it out of the bag. Because I wanted to be on front row. I knew I could get a blinding start and try and break away from the guys. So yeah, it was all in the qualifying, head down.
Well, let's have a chat about the championship then, because obviously you're in the lead of the championship going into this round, and obviously you have now gained a little bit more on your closest competitor, Matt Allen. You must be sort of quietly confident going into this. Obviously, you've got the second race to do tonight, but well, actually, I suppose the better question would be: are you confident going into the Nordschleife? Because that is a track that's scary enough for anybody. Silverstone is one of those tracks that, you know, there's plenty of runoff and you can go 2 wide and even 3 wide and get away with it. But the Nordschleife, there is none of that, is there? How much are you preparing for that finale?
I haven't even turned a lap on it yet.
That's what we love to hear.
Just concentrating on each race at a time, and once this one's over, then we'll all start putting some setups together and working out how we can get around there. So yeah, the next race is going to be interesting. Tire life, especially the left rear. That one's going to be screaming at the end of this race. So I would expect, not everyone, but there might be a few people towards the end really struggling. Well,
there was a few people towards the end of that 15-minute race, let alone the 45-minute one we got coming up. So yeah, that's going to be very interesting. We'll let you go, David, but is there anybody you'd like to give a quick shout out to before we do?
Yeah, once again, thanks to the Fastar guys and girls over there and the Fastar Esports team as well. You know, like I said before, they've been really supportive of me doing this, and you know, helping out a lot. As I said before, like listening to me moan about tires and setups and whatnot. So it's been really good. So yeah, thanks to all those guys.
Absolutely awesome. Well, David, congratulations on the first win of the evening. Good luck for the second race. Try and hold on to your tyres, I suppose.
Yeah, will do. And thanks for you for streaming this, and also to the Next Gen Racing guys as well for putting on this series. It's been great racing.
Oh, you're making us all blush, Dave. Good luck going into the next one, and we'll speak to you later, perhaps.
Okay, yeah, no, hopefully. See you later, mate.
Thanks, Dave. Bye. And that was David Ward, and we got one more. We got time for about 20 interviews because there's a long time before the next server. But we'll bring in Dave Newsham, second place on the podium. And Dave, that was a hard race, wasn't it? I was just talking to David Ward about how that one was a bit, semi-quiet for him. It was anything but quiet for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I didn't make the best of starts. I'm not getting good starts, to be fair, in this car. But yeah, I didn't make a good start, and but I had the legs on. Matthew was behind. But you're so close up behind you, but you don't see a lot of the track. And I caught the inside of the inside of the track on turn one, got a slowdown, so I had to back off and put me behind Matt. And then I had to kind of do it all again. Got past Matt, but I was pushing, I overheated the rear tyres, I think, because it was sliding everywhere. So, yeah, it was an eventful race. It was a good race. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, we were wondering as we were watching, obviously, you almost sort of gave the position to Matt Allen, but that was forced then, was it? You got a slowdown on the inside of Abbey, did you?
Yeah, I got something like a 4-second slowdown, so I just had to do the best I could.
Yeah, it's a pain, that one, isn't it? Because in real life, obviously, you want to sort of muller that inside curve, obviously depending on what car you're driving, I suppose. But yeah, so it's a bit harsh penalty, that one. But yeah, I mean, going into qualifying tonight then, obviously the first qualifying, yeah, I think David Ward was particularly surprised at how much pace you pulled out the bag, that you really had to make him push. And what, a 2-minute 5.9, were you expecting that kind of pace out of yourself?
Yeah, kind of. Even in practice, I was very low 206s, but I knew the time was in it. On my best sectors, I was in the 205, so I knew it was possible. I just had to hook up a lap, and yeah, that was the only lap I hooked up, to be fair.
Yeah, well, I mean, I used to go back to my brother, who used to be my driver coach and everything, and say, "Oh, look, yeah, I've got some good sectors and stuff like that." He's like, "Yeah, but did you do it all in one lap?" I was like, "No, but my ideal lap is brilliant." He's like, "Yeah, but it doesn't matter. You need to do the lap in full." And you really pulled that out then. Do you reckon you can try and repeat it into the second qualifying?
Yeah, I'll have another go at it. David's got the pace on us. I could probably hang on to him if I was there, but he had too much of a gap there, and there was no way I was going to bridge that gap. He's driving really well. Last few rounds, he's been really consistent and really quick. So yeah, we'll try and get in there again, and if I can get on the back of him, I hope to out qualify him. But if I can get on the back of him, stay there without anybody between us, then yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll have a pretty good fight.
Yeah, I hope so, because obviously that'd be awesome for us to watch. Well, I'll tell you what. Actually, first question before we let you leave. Where's Callum tonight?
He's working.
Oh, got him.
He's working for Tesco's at the minute, and he's kind of 0 hours, so he's just has to get every little bit he can. And yeah, it tends to be Friday nights. That's the only reason he's not here.
Wow.
Friday night pulled in.
In real life, takes priority, obviously, and he's done well to even get a job at the moment. So full power to him. Well, is there anybody you'd like to give a quick shout out to, Dave, before we let you go?
Just all the Newsham Nutters for tuning in. I'm sure they're all there again. Yeah, it's thanks for tuning in, guys.
Awesome. Well, Dave, congratulations on the second place. Good luck for qualifying. We'll let you get properly set up this time. Not like Alton Park, where I pretty much dumped you in and you had one flying lap. I do apologise about that. But yeah, we'll potentially have a chat to you after, Dave.
Yeah, okay. No worries. See you later.
And that was Dave Newsham. And we're going to go for a quick break, but do by all means stick around if you fancy it, because we've got the second feature race coming up. We've obviously got a qualifying before that as well, and we'll be back as soon as we're available to go into some action. My name's been Jack Oliphant. Thank you very much for the people who have also come on and liked and shared. Ollie Wayne giving the like. Martina Ward giving the like. Oh, Martina, how was the PDC yesterday? Do let us know, because obviously I know Dave and you were racing in the PDC yesterday. Lee Horn. In fact, I should have asked Dave about that, shouldn't I? Damn. Oh well, we might end up talking to him about again after the second race. Lee Horn, thank you very much for the like as well. He's also come on the chat and said, well, that was poop. Shame I got drive through and turned around in turn 2. Oh, sorry, not I got a drive-through, I got drove through. My bad. Really bad start off the line, though. My own fault for not putting myself there. Well, Lee, there's always a second race, and there's another qualifying, in fact, as well, on top of that. So, I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere. Bye. We are back, and qualifying is just about underway here for the second time tonight. We are looking at our race 1 victor, David Ward, who has been pretty impervious, to be honest, since winning at Monza. He qualified on pole here. He's ended up with a race of victory, and he says there's no real reason why he can't pull that kind of qualifying pace out the bag again. We'll try and get an on-board lap with David as he tries to put those flying laps together. We are probably going to be having and talking about Dave Newsham for a competitor in terms of qualifying. Dave said that David Ward, it's hard to say really, Newsham said that Ward probably had a little bit of pace on him, especially in the race from obviously Mr. Newsham, but if he can hold on to the back of him, he will do everything in his power to do such a thing and maybe put him off or take any advantage of a mistake that he can. In third place at the end of that race as well was Mr. Misty Racing himself, Matt Allen. Mr. Misty Matt. There's probably a way of saying that. Mr. Matt? I don't know. Anyway, somebody can comment and let me know. That'd be great, a best way of saying that one. David Ward is putting in the purple times already, by the way. But yeah, Mr. Allen, he didn't quite hook it together in that race, I think it's safe today. In qualifying, he really didn't get the pace out of the car that he probably would have enjoyed. He ended up qualifying in 7th place, but off the start line, he was already into 4th and away. Then Matt Hodges, who was in 2nd place at the time, if I can just find him, he was in 2nd place at the time and running pretty comfortably as well, because Dave Newsham dropped back from 2nd to 4th/3rd and was fighting with Matt Allen. Matt Hodges we had about a couple of seconds, about a second and a half between the leader and the drivers behind him in 2nd place. He actually ended up spinning off under his own accord. So he ended up losing down. I think he came 6th in the end. That promoted Mr. Newsham into 2nd place after a tidy move at the inside of Matt Allen. And that is pretty much how they finished in the end of the 15-minute sprint race. But we do now have a 15-minute qualifying session, and a few drivers are yet, in fact no drivers are yet to put in their lap time, but we are on their first flying lap, so don't worry, you haven't missed anything. And it was a big thank you to the likes of David Ward and Dave Newsham to come in and have a chat to us at the end of race 1. Alex Ward commenting saying, "Come on, Lee Horton, get it together, mate. You need to up your game, Lee, if you're gonna try and please the fan base at this rate." Where is Lee? In fact, let's have a quick look at him. He's about to finish his first flying lap. What kind of lap times he putting in so far? No purples. In fact, really surprisingly, actually, no one's putting any purples. So David Ward, I think, is actually going slightly quicker in his outlap than he is in his first flying lap, apart from his first sector, obviously, considering he was coming out of the pits in the first sector of his outlap. As he comes across the line, let's see what kind of benchmark he's going to set. It's a 2:0. What? Holy... A 2:05.3. I was just having to double check that wasn't fake, to be honest, or that wasn't a glitch. David Ward has gone and stuck in a 2:05.3. Dave Newsham's gone and stuck a 2:05.4. So the track must have got a lot quicker here, because we're seeing times that are 4 or 5 tenths quicker than the ultimate pace in the first qualifying. So I think as the day has gone a little bit later, the night's come out now, we're getting a definite improvement in lap times. And I'm just trying to find the way of letting you know. Let's have a look at the weather. You can see on the right-hand side there that the temperature is actually, yeah, it has dropped down to 19 degrees. So it's pretty peak fast lap time now. And Dave Ward and Dave Newsham, I tell you what, Matt Allen has found the pace in the Misty racing car. Oh, he's going to be annoyed with that. He's 100th of a second off, probably even less than that. Somebody who's quicker than me in the chat at Matt can let me know what the difference is between Dave Ward and Matt Allen right now. Obviously, both drivers will be putting in some quicker times. Well, they would probably hope to be quicker times, although Dave Ward currently is not going any quicker. He's having a look at Dave Newsham is going quicker in the first 2 sectors, and he's purpled sector 3. So we'll keep an eye on Dave Newsham here. There's obviously a 15-minute session, so drivers do have the time just about to jump in and out of the pit to get a new set of tyres, a set of boots basically on the 911s that you're seeing driving around here. David Ward has put in a purple sector 4. Dave Newsham's about to finish his sector 4 up now, and he goes, there we go, purple for Dave Newsham. So this is going to be a quick time. I'm very interested to see on whether we're going to be cracking into the 2-minute and 4s here. That'd be absolutely incredible to see. But I very much hope we do. So coming around the final couple of corners now, Dave Ward goes a little bit slower. Michael Steele's put himself into 5th place. Dave Newsham rounds out. This is Jamie Dory as well, just ahead. How's Dory getting on? We'll have a look. But Dave Newsham's the driver. We're keeping an eye on it. It's a 2-minute 4.7 out of Dave Newsham. He was in the perfect position compared to Jamie Dory as well. So a 2-minute 4. I was asking them in the interviews, can you repeat a 2-minute and 5? Well, they just made me look a right silly bugger. Matt Allen goes 2nd place with a 2-minute 4.9. So Dave Ward, all of a sudden, wow, how do you feel the pressure, David? Can you get into the pits, get back out and put a flying lap in? We'll have to wait and see. He's put in a purple sector 1, so maybe he won't be coming to the pits. His sector 2's a little bit down, but when I say a little bit down, it's 100th of a second off. Matt Hodges putting it into 3rd place with a 2-minute 5.2. So Dave Ward, compared to Matt Hodges, he's a 10th off him. Don't feel like, although his first sector is so quick, if he can just hook up the rest of the lap, I think his second sector he might get away with. It's an improvement for his 3rd sector now, and I did say we'll try and get on board with one of these drivers for the this part of qualifying, for the second qualifying. I would love to do such a thing, but to be honest, they're making it so close. It's a bit difficult to peel our eyes away from one of them in time to actually get a full on-board lap. We'll keep an eye on Dave Ward, though. He has improved, as I said. Dave Newsham currently on pole position. Dave's actually on his out lap now. So Dave Newsham has actually come into the pits, strapped a new set of boots on, and is now going out to push again. Dave Ward has put in a 2nd purple sector, and he's faster in his 3rd. So hopefully, for his sake, he can improve, and that'll all be okay to counteract the 2nd sector, which wasn't so hot. As he comes around the final corner, though, it's not as good in the final sector, but where's the overall time? It doesn't matter, because it's pole position. 2-minute 4.761. That is 300ths of a second quicker than Dave Newsham, who, as I've said, has just about come out on his on his 2nd pair of tyres. So we'll see how they get on. Gavin Allen, thank you very much for the share on the stream as well. Awesome to have you along, and brilliant to have the people sort of jumping in and taking part as well in the stream. It's absolutely cracking the qualifying. If this is what we got in racing to come, I'm very much looking forward to it yet again. Oh, is that David Ward facing the wrong way? I think it may well be. In fact, he's in the pits now. So as Dave Newsham comes across the line, let's go on board with Dave and see how his 2nd flying stint goes. Through Abbey then, not going as wide as I expected. I think that's because it's a bit too easy to over-rotate the rear as you go through the left into the first hairpin, then shift down the gears nicely. Oh, he's just ran a touch wide there, I feel. Maybe he gets away with it. He probably knows a little bit more about driving in this car than me around this circuit now, considering I've never done it. And he's been through a race already as the driver spins off in front of him. That is one of the SSR crew. Again, that feels weird. I feel like that was a thing in the Second World War. Going down to Brooklands then, diving in towards the apex and the braking there. Hooking up the apex nicely. Oh, yes, taking a bit of a... Oh, no, he's not really V'ing it. It's more of a gentle U around Luffield by the looks of it. Going through Woodcut now. Don't cut the corner too much, although I don't think iRacing really punishes you for it. And across the start-finish straight start-finish line in the national pits. Go through Copse, very, very similar corner. There's 2 first corners here on the Silverstone circuit, and they're both extremely similar to each other. Copse and Abbey going into Maggots and Beckett's. Oh, easy to get off track there, I imagine. Keep it to the left, line it up. There we go. This is the important one. This gets you the drive. It's a smooth application of the throttle as well, isn't it? It's a nice, clean drive away Dave isn't improving on any times here, but he is giving us a good indication of what needs to be done around the Silverstone circuit. Into Stowe then. It's a difficult corner because as you hit the braking zone, the track slightly curves away from you. You have to line it up well in advance and make sure you're braking in a straight line. Going down towards the final couple of corners. Keep it left or middle of the circuit so you can open up the right as much as you can and get a really clean exit. I just went quiet there because I wanted to see whether it was a full throttle through the final corner, but Dave Newsham comes across the line. It's a 2-minute 5.5. Not an improvement, that's for sure, but we'll see if it's going to be any better. That's the best lap times on your screen for now. And I'll get the last lap times up for you as well. There we go. So the best lap times on your timing tower on the right-hand side, the last lap on the left-hand side, and the gap between the drivers on the inside. So keep an eye out for some drivers who may well be improving. Jack Fielder-Clifford yet again showing top 5 pace in qualifying, not able to convert it into the race, but you know, it's third time's a charm, and he's going into it. Well, actually, this is the 4th time, so I can't even say that for Jack. But with any luck, he'll improve on this one. We're 12 minutes into the 15-minute qualifying session, and we are about to get underway for the 45-minute feature race. If nobody's quite sure how it works, that was a very high-pitched quiet, wasn't it? If nobody's quite sure how on earth this runs today, well, you're a bit late to the party because we're on the penultimate round and we're going into the feature race. But we had a qualifying already, a 10-minute qualifying followed by a 15-minute sprint race. We're now in the midst, or to the tail end of a 15-minute qualifying session as we go into a 45-minute feature race. At the moment, Dave Ward is on pole position and he's in the pit, so he doesn't think he's going to be able to improve from that 2-minute 4.7. Dave Newsham, who we're currently watching go round, he's in second place with Matt Allen in third. Neither Dave or Matt are actually improving at this time, and actually none of the other drivers are really improving either. It's a bit of a rarity to see them if they have improved so far. Let's have a look. I think Jochen Sigurds just made it a 9, 10 and 11 for the next gen crew. Jamie Dory in 9th with Lee Horn in 10th and Jochen Sigurd in 11th place. Chris Knox, the only driver yet to set a lap time. He's tried to set it 4 times in a row, but I'm guessing off tracks have meant that it's not been allowed to actually register the time. Matt Hodges has just improved on his lap time, but it's not quick enough to gain on Matt Allen very significantly. And it is quick enough though to spin himself round. Andrew Holmes is improving on his time as well. He's just come through the line actually, and he's improved his time, but yet again not enough to actually put himself further up any positions. 14 minutes into this 15-minute qualifying session, and as I said, I can't see many drivers who are actually improving massively. And again, another spin there by Andrew Holmes as he pushes it to the limit. Matt Allen did improve in sector 4 on that last lap, but he wasn't able to improve his overall time. He is only one of 3 drivers in the actual 204s though, so, you know, there's a lot to be said for that. Chris Knox with a purple sector 3. Jack Fielder-Clifford with a purple sector 2. But he's coming out of the pits by the looks of it, so I'm not entirely sure what's cracking on there. And Chris Knox, let's have a look, because he's the only driver out there at the moment who hasn't set a lap time. He has not gone quicker in sector 1 or 2, but he has gone purple in sector 3. How is this sector 4 getting on? It's a green sector 4, so we could see Chris Knox potentially cracking in the top 10. The fact that he's putting a purple time in sector 3 means that he's probably quick enough to negate any slower areas of the track that he was in. In fact, he was only slower than David Ward in sector 2 by about half a tenth of a second. So as Chris Knox is coming around the final corner, the checkered flag has dropped. Where's this going to put him? 204.7? I think that's, yeah, it's a disqualified lap time. So Chris Knox, although flying, actually wasn't able to set any kind of representative lap time. As Jamie Dory is coming through, he's actually improved in a couple of sectors, so we will see Jamie get across the line to try and secure this a lap time that he's about to put in. It is nowhere near the pole sitter of David Ward, though, as Jamie comes across the line. It's a 2 minute and 6 dead, so it is an improvement for himself, but 0.003 of a second he is behind Michael Seal. Lee Horn parked rather neatly on the inside of the corner compared to Chris Knox, who a little bit more dramatic than that. In fact, it's not the inside of the corner, it was on the exit going down towards Brooklands and Luffield. But as Chris gives us some donuts that we know Homer Simpson loves, as soon as he's finished larking about, we'll be able to give you the grid for the next race. I'm not sure if he knows that there we go. I was going to say I'm not sure if he knows that we have to wait for him to finish off, but he has now disappeared off to the pits, so it's all good, and we'll be able to bring you the grid as soon as it is available. I'd like to take this opportunity to yet again thank everyone for jumping into the stream, and that is a terrible camera, isn't it? Let's have a look at a different one, maybe. Looks like we're stuck on scenic, and we're also not getting the grid up yet as well. So apologies about the slight delay here. I think we're just waiting for the session to be advanced, so then we can start gridding up. We should be getting it now. In fact, there we go. David Ward on pole position is confirmed then with a massive improvement from the first qualifying. A 2 minute 4.7. Dave Newsham, hundredths of a second behind yet again in second place. Matt Allen in third with Matt Hodges in fourth. Jack Fielder Clifford in fifth with Colin Martin in sixth. Perkis seventh. Holmes in eighth place. Seal ninth, and Jamie Doyle rounding out the top 10. There's very little between those two. 3,000. Lee Horn and Jochen Siggert round out the top 12, and also the 3 next gen crew. Sam Holman, Matthew Addy, Ollie Waynes and Thomas Delaney all round out the drivers who actually managed to qualify, and Chris Knox is in 17th place after doing 5 laps and not, unfortunately, setting a lap time in any one of them. Well, not a valid lap time anyway. So as we wait for the drivers to all grid up, I think we're just waiting for Thomas Delaney and our pole sitter David Ward. A reminder that this is the 45-minute feature race, and we saw a lot of spins with the rear left giving way, so every right-hand turn basically, through Stowe, Copse, Abbey, the hairpins as well, the back end just giving up. So if that was in a 15-minute race, imagine what it's going to be like in the 45. As David Ward now takes his position at the front of the field, we can now start the lights. So we are going to go racing for a second time. The engine notes rise, the lights have come on, and we are racing for the second time. Matt Allen, what a start! Is made to look an awful lot better by the fact that David Ward has tumbled down to 12th place. He's outside of Chris Knox right now. And there's an awfully lot of drivers in front of them for him to make his way through. Matt Allen's in the lead of the race with Dave Newsham and Matthew Hedges and his teammate Jack Fielder Clifford in 4th place. But it is Matt Allen. This is exactly what he needed. He just wants the race to stop now. Red flag it, Mr. Clark of the course. Yeah, that's what he's screaming anyway. Going into Brooklands and left field, we've had a crash for Jochen Siggert and Andrew Holmes, unfortunately. We'll have a quick look at what's been happening to those two, but I think we got some side-by-side action in the background here between Michael Seal and Jamie Dory. Jamie getting hung out to dry there just a touch as Chris Knox is going round him as well. So David Ward's the next driver who's going to try and take advantage of Jamie's running wide and into Copse. Oh, David can't quite get past there. And it's a wall of cars now, isn't it? Between David and the top honoured. He's going along the outside of Jamie Dory, now hunkering up behind Chris Knox, and Jamie has to slam on the brakes. Does that mean that David can go through into Brooklands Onto Beckett. No, not quite, as they rounding out on Church. And that whole sector, David Ward is still behind. Let's have a look at what's happening at the front of the field. Because it is Matt Allen who still leads the way from Dave Newsham and Matt Hedges. Tell you what, Dave Newsham's probably sat there thinking, if only I could get this 911 off the line, I would have had an absolute flyer. Especially with the fact that he was so close to David Ward and his qualifying pace. That's a big lunge up the inside there by Matt Hedges. Dave Newsham's actually wise enough to it. Hedges spins. I don't know if there was contact there, but Hedges is now off the circuit. And for a second race in a row, he spins off. Matt Allen in pole position then. Well, he wasn't in pole position, but he is in the lead of this race. From Dave Newsham, who, as I said, I think probably has the pace on Matt. But everything seems to be going Allen's way. You could say that he probably holds the key. The Allen key. Way. Great pun. Chris Knox is up 11 places, and he's locking up as well into 6th place, and he is now dropping. It's no longer 11 places, it's 10, it may well be 9, to be fair, as no Michael Seal goes wide, and David Ward has actually just about got through a few of the drivers, so although he's lost 8 positions, he's now got clean air in front of him, and that means he's going to get the hammer down. So, as we have a slight break, although we'll just check if Jamie Dory is going to fly one up the inside here. Not quite ahead, just behind. Oh, Chris Knox, where is he? He's off the road. Oh, as an ex-gen car almost joins him. I think that was Jochen Siggert. Through goes Matthew Hodges and the 911 car of Sam Holman. So, a couple of crashes here, there and everywhere, isn't there? Let's see if we can catch up a little bit. Andrew Holmes, let's start with him. This is on the opening lap. Oh, a little bit of a squirrel already as he tries to go into the brakes. He did well to collect that. Oh, he over-rotates the car, and if he's starting to over-rotate the car at this stage in the race, with the second corner, I don't look forward to your prospects 45 minutes in. Jochen Siggert again in a similar position. Let's see what happens to him. Oh, he just runs really wide there. Too much speed. And Matthew Hodges. This is actually what happens between him and Dave Newsham. In fact, listen. Oh, no contact. Just he turned it around. Too much power with too much lock on. David Ward. Let's have a look at what happened to him in the end then. So he's... in fact, this isn't what happened to him at the end. This is actually him battling with the number 13 car of Jamie Dory. Oh! And I took my eye off there for a second. And actually, Ward really got away with that, didn't he? Let's have a look at it again. So he's lunging at the inside of Jamie Dory, who does give him the room on the apex. Oh, I think Dory was looking... Oh, I'm going to have one last look at that, because I just want to have a look at it from Jamie Dory's perspective. Have a look at whether there's any steering lock to the right-hand side. Oh, I think that's a coming together. I don't think that's actually to blame for anything there. Matthew Addy also with a crash. Is he just going to over-rotate the car here? Is he getting collected in someone else's incident? Oh, too much power on exit. Too much power on exit. Luckily, no one else hit him. And I think, lastly, is Chris Knox. In fact, no, actually, Chris Knox has had 2 crashes. This was the first one that we actually saw the end of. And going into Brooklands, yeah, there we go. He didn't get it quite right. Wasn't as smooth as he needed to be. And he's jumped to the pits now. So why is that? As he comes through Maggots and Beckett. Is he just overheating the rears already? Yeah, he's... yeah, no, that's not ideal for him. And Chris, unfortunately, has jumped himself back to the pits. So, what's happening then in the race? Matt Allen is in the lead with Dave Newsham now hunting him down like a predator, almost like a lion hunts down a hyena. I don't know what do lions get. Wildebeest, I suppose. I probably should write these sort of things down rather than just trying to make them up on the spot. But he is now hunkering up behind him, that's for sure. 0.2 of a second, and it's only going to be reduced as they come under the Johnny Walker sign and into Stowe. Dave Newsham looks over to the inside of Matt Allen, and it's going to be the lead for Newsham. He takes the lead, so it's yet again another Dave in the lead, but it's not the same one as race 1, as Matt Allen Goldie cuts to the inside. That's to be a very, very late lunge to try and look it back there. Where is David Ward? He's in 7th place at the moment, quite a long way back. We'll bring up on the left-hand side of your screen, so at the moment we've got the interval to the next driver, but if we bring up the gap to pole position, or the first place man, David Ward's got 8 seconds to catch up for these two. It will help his case if these two start fighting. So I think what Matt Allen really needs to do is stop fighting and just crack on and try and build the gap up as much as he possibly can. To David Ward, that is. So what else is going on? Jeff Purkis is also battling with the likes of Colin Martin and Jack Fielder-Clifford, who is having an awfully lot better race than he has done in previous iterations of the Porsche PMR Cup. He is now suddenly showing that his qualifying pace can be translated into race pace, and he's sitting in 3rd position, putting in some good lap times as well. It has to be said. David Ward, as I said, is in 7th. Colin Martin in 5th. Michael Seal in 6th place. I can't remember where Michael Seal actually came in the first race, but I think it was quite respectable. Ollie Waynes and Jochen Siggert are coming together. And they are off the circuit. You can see Jochen Siggert on the inside of the track there. What's happened to him? Let's have a look. Ollie Wayne going for that lunge into Brooklands and Luffield. Jochen not really... in fact, Jochen's actually the driver behind, and he loads up the RAF driver. So Jochen was the next-gen driver behind. Ollie was actually having a look at what I believe is Jamie Dorey. And Jochen Siggert actually just came in at the end and launched into him. He's let him back pass, which is all very well and good, but still not ideal for these two drivers. Sam Holtman goes through on Jochen Siggert there by the looks of it. So Matt Allen is trying to keep with Dave Newsham with good effect as well. Dave is the only driver at the moment to have cut into the 2:05. 2:05.6 is currently his best lap time. With what looks like Jeff Purkis has just gained another position. If these guys carry on like this, it could be a very, very interesting 45-minute race. Lee Horn's just overtaking Matthew Addy there. You can see the two drivers in your screen now. Oh, wide goes Newsham. Wide goes Newsham. Oh, my days. I didn't actually catch that. Let's try and get that back. I was having a look at something else. As though it was Matt Allen. Yeah, Newsham just messes around on the brakes, unfortunately, into the first hairpin. And that's allowed Matt Allen to get straight back through. And Dave will not be pleased about that one, I'm sure. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Matt Allen wasn't too pleased about that either. Because Dave obviously was the quicker driver. And now they have to mess around yet again in fighting. And this will all allow a couple of the other drivers to catch up. Let's have a look at David Ward. Obviously, his championship leader is the reason why we keep mentioning him, to be fair. He is, at the moment, in 7th place. Not a great, but if anything, you want the worst race to be in... you want the worst start to be in this race, because it gives you a better opportunity at catching up. Obviously, you get 3 times the time to actually catch up. Rather than 15 minutes, you get 45. And we're about to round off the first 10, to be fair. Just while we have a bit of a chill moment, might as well have a chat about Silverstone, obviously. Actually, no, we won't. Scrap that, because Dave Newsham's already looking to the outside. He wasn't worried about hunkering up behind Matt Allen, wasn't he? He didn't want to get into the slipstream. He didn't want to take advantage until the last second. He was just like, I'm showing my intentions early. You can defend. I'm taking the proper racing line here. Shows that Matt Allen is potentially driving in his mirrors a little bit, and Dave Newsham knows that. And just thinks, you know what, if you're driving in your mirrors, you're going to make a mistake at some point. The last thing you want to do if you're in the lead is start just every time you're going into a braking zone, looking in your mirrors. Every time you come out of a corner, looking in your mirrors. Because it never goes well, to be honest. You always end up missing braking zones. You don't get on the powers smoothly. It's not the best way to drive, especially in cars that you have to drive smoothly like these ones. Slightly different lines there by the two of them. Matt Allen going for a slightly later apex. Dave going for a more sweeping one. Or the other way around, actually. It might have been, to be fair. Dave Ward is now up to 6th place. He's got a couple of seconds to gain on Michael Seal. But by the looks of his pace, he is the only other driver now to crack into the 205s. As Dave Newsham dives at the inside into Brooklands in front of the BRDCs, giving them something to watch. But it's not quite been able to come off for him just yet. Matt Allen just holding on to that that position. And obviously, like I said, the more that these two fight, the slower they're going to be. So all of a sudden, Dave Newsham's gone from setting 2 minute 5.6s to 2 minutes 6.7. So 1.1 seconds slower on that last lap than he was the previous one. Although, to be fair, he did make the mistake. So actually, we'll go off the comparison of Matt Allen. And he's about half a second off the pace of Dave Newsham in that last lap. So they go through, a little bit of a cut there by Matt Allen and a little bit wide from Dave Newsham. At some point in the middle there is a happy medium, but it wasn't to be on this occasion. So, as I was saying, as we have a little bit of a break in the action, a couple of drivers spacing each other out. This is actually the closest battle we have out on the circuit. I do have good memories of Silverstone, to be honest. I've won 2 races there in the Ginetta G55, in the GT4 Super Cup that partners the BTCC. And to be honest, every time I've jumped into Silverstone, I've been relatively quick. And I think it's something about the sort of nice, sort of flowing nature. There's a lot of high, medium speed corners, a lot of commitment corners at Silverstone, which is, if they were anywhere else in the country, they would be terrifying, put it that way. Because of the fact that we are obviously got a lot of runoff. We're on a massive airfield built for F1 and stuff like that. They need to be safe. And that means that a lot of these drivers can really push the limits without being too afraid. If you run wide, it doesn't really matter. You just run a little bit wide. If you ran wide at Brands Hatch or Alton Park, you'd be in a tyre wall. So it's a little bit different. But it does give those drivers who maybe aren't as quick normally because they're worried about how the car reacts or worried about writing the car off basically in a wall, it gives them the opportunity to really push the car. Speaking of pushing the car, Matty Hodges is back through the field. He's already cracking the top 10 potentially. No, Thomas Delaney's fighting him off. And I believe we had a subscriber. I'll just give a quick shout out to them. Steve Pitt for the subscription. Thank you very much. Shows that the YouTube thing is a bit hit and miss, to be honest. But thank you very much for the subscription. Up the inside go Matt Hodges on Thomas Delaney then. Second time lucky. And I tell you what, Delaney's actually defending this really well, isn't he? Let's face it. Having a right good battle between these two. Matt obviously has got the pace to be within the top 4 or 5. But he's, after a bit of luck going not his way, put it that way, in the first couple of laps, he's all the way down in 11th place. Tell you what, Dave Newsham and Matt Allen, they've ended up getting a bit of a gap between each other. So Dave Newsham, not sure what's happened to him. We'll have a quick look. Jeff Perkins and Jack Fielder Clifford as well, getting very nicely together. This is going to be a battle worth watching. And I'll have a look and see whether I can see what happened to Dave Newsham. I don't think he's had an off track or anything, so I can't actually see. A bit of a shame. There hasn't been as many crashes as I was expecting. We are almost rounding out to the 1/3 mark. This is about the time at the end of the first race. Dave Newsham goes wide. Dave Newsham is having an absolute mare with his brakes today in the second race of the evening. And all of a sudden, Jack Fielder Clifford goes through. Jeff Perkins is now held up. And although Dave qualified in second place, and he shows he's actually got flying 1-lap pace, he's really struggling here. And in the background, we can see a Mr. David Ward caught up to the back of his teammate Michael Seal. So we can basically consider this to be a 5th place. I don't think Michael Seal is going to fight too hard. And in fact, there we go. He already dived to the outside. It's like watching people jump out the way of Ash Sutton at times. That's a joke, people. Don't get carried away. But he is now on the hunt. He's in the top 5. And I'm sure Matt Allen will know that by now as well. I think he's in the Discord having a chat to a few of the other drivers. Dave Newsham then in the middle of this little sandwich between Jack Fielder Clifford and Jeff Perkins. And as I said before, Fielder Clifford finally showing that his qualifying pace is not just a 1-lap trick. He's not a one-trick pony per se. He is actually able to personify that into race pace as well. Thank you very much, Simon Clayton, for the like. Awesome to have you watching and enjoying the stream. It's a cracking race so far. The first race was good as well. If you didn't manage to catch that, then I advise you jump back and have a watch of it, because it was really rather good. I just realised I haven't had this on at all, and do let me know whether this is just getting in the way of the race or whether you quite like it. I don't mind it off, to be honest. I should probably put my logo somewhere else instead of just having this plastered all over the place. So, hunkering up behind... in fact, not hunkering up at all. Jack Fielder-Clifford is under attack by Dave Newsham. In fact, Fielder-Clifford went really wide onto the racing line there, didn't he? And it's a good run from Newsham, who is going to be on the outside, is he? He's not trying to dive at the inside, no, because Jack is defending into this complex. I'll tell you what, I thought Jack was taking far too much pace in there and rotating the car, but he's actually managed to slow it down and hold up Dave Newsham at this rate. So this is actually giving Matt Allen a really good lead away from the rest of the field. Jeff Perkis is the next driver, the 555. Oh, it's a brave move up the inside of Abbey for anybody who attempts it. It's going to really ruin both of their runs. Jeff Perkis has watched that thinking, oh, okay then, here I come. Oh, going into that's a fantastic move. It has to be said by Dave Newsham. It's really difficult. You have to trust the driver you're going in side by side with there to the absolute maximum. And Jeff Perkins didn't actually take advantage as much as I thought he was going to. But yeah, you have to really trust the driver to the absolute maximum to make sure that they're not going to turn in on you. Because if they do turn in on you, I guarantee you it's both your races ruined. So, although Fielder-Clifford is not giving it up, and Newsham could well be in a position where he's not actually wanting to be here at all. You know, the fact that he's fighting with these drivers. Now he's got through. If he can get the hammer down, he's a bit squiggly on the exit, and that might give Jack Fielder-Clifford the opportunity to get back around the outside. Going towards Cops across the start-finish line at the National Straights. Now Jeff Perkis looks to the inside. He's diving back in. He thinks better of it. Newsham defends it well. Going through the inside of Cops. Perkis on the inside now, cutting back. Oh, Fielder-Clifford's cutting that one out immediately. David Ward's watching this thinking, what on earth do I have to do to get past these three drivers now? They've all settled themselves down, but wow, this is going to be a tense couple of laps for these drivers. We're nearly 20 minutes into this 45-minute race, and it looks like we're having about 3 or 4 sprint races in one. Matt Allen is ahead. You could just about see him in the foreground there by 5.8 seconds, but a flash of the lights from Perkis shows he's probably not all too pleased with how some of the driving is being held here. Fielder-Clifford looking up the inside yet again of Newsham, but Newsham really just needs to get the rhythm going, but he's not been allowed to do that by the fact that these drivers are clawing all over the back of him. Every time Fielder-Clifford shows his nose, Newsham has to just take a courtesy glance as well. Oh, round goes Perkis. Perkis was doing really well. He was in this fight, and that's another place gained for David Ward. So all of a sudden, Matt Allen is actually only got 2 drivers in between himself. He's got an awful lot of room, though. He's got about 6 or 7 seconds away from David Ward. So with any look for his perspective, he'll be able to catch that up. But I mean, it sounds like I'm being slightly biased here, but at the end of the day, we want it to go down to the wire. And I'm sure these drivers would also enjoy a championship showdown at the Nordschleife. There's a reason why we're finishing at the Nordschleife. It's so we can have a showdown around the hardest circuit in the world. And it will certainly be a showdown if... Oh, I'll tell you what. Michael Seal flying off there. It will certainly be a showdown to remember of these who do go into it with an opportunity to potentially overturn the championship fight. Let's have a look at what happened to Jeff Perkis then. Just keeping an eye on him. He's obviously in the middle in the 555 car. Is he get a tap? He's under braking there. No, the rear end just goes round on him, and as I said before, bit surprised that we haven't seen more of it. This is what how Thomas Delaney's had a off. And yeah, there we go, that rear end, and that is going to cause havoc going forward, I can guarantee you. So these three have started to calm down now just a bit. They're just giving my voice a break. I think that's all they're trying to do. Making sure that we don't lose vocal range before we get to the end of the 45 minutes. It has been known to happen before on the Porsche PMR Cup, you know, with the fact that I'm the only one commentating. It happened quite a lot in the WTCR as well. And the fact that the drivers just were so close constantly, throwing moves left, right and centre, I ended up just losing my voice. So, yeah, thank you very much. This is how I spend my Friday night, trying to get strepsils down my throat so I come off the stream. Would I have it any other way? Absolutely not. Because at the end of the day, we want brilliant racing, and I want to shout at my monitor in front of brilliant racing as well. So very pleased that these guys have invited me down. And it's probably a good opportunity that I don't say as often as I should to thank the Next Gen crew the likes of Jamie Doy as well, who's obviously organising this league. It's basically a thank you for getting me involved. Obviously, I've covered quite a few of the Next Gen series. I started on the PMRE series back when that was Next Gen as well in their lower tiers. That was actually my first commentary, esports commentary gig anyway. Well, sort of. My first proper one anyway, proper series. And obviously their WTCR as well that I got involved with. And now their Porsche PMR Cup. And with any luck, season 20, I will have another series as well, which should be awesome to cover. But obviously, that will all come down to timings, availability, and obviously, even if these guys want me back. With any luck, Next Gen do, because they, as I said before, multiple times, they do offer up really good racing. Matt Hodges, how's he getting on then? He's clawing his way back up the order, but he's got Mr. Holmes in front of him, Andrew Holmes. And he's clawing his way back relatively nicely, trying to get up the order, but he's not really been able to crack as quickly as David Ward. He is a 2 minute 5.5 is his last lap, and it's actually the fastest lap of the race. So I'm saying that, I could be absolutely stone dead wrong. Dave Newsham hasn't been able to catch up. Well, having said that, actually they've taken half a second away from Matt Allen already, as we are just over halfway through now, only just. Fielder Clifford goes defensive into Stowe. How is David Ward going to come out at the end of this? He's going to go around the outside as David Ward, and it's a brave, ambitious, and in the end, failed move to try and go around the outside of Stowe. He's given a flash of the light to Fielder Clifford. Maybe that's just to try and put him off. Maybe it's to say, you know, you shouldn't be coming across quite that much on me going into the corner, because we've seen how much Fielder Clifford does come across, and that's really hurt Ward's run as well. And in fact, actually, Newsham's not had a brilliant run either. Jamie Dory's had an off. Let's have a very quick look at that. Where is this then? I think that's Hodges just ahead of him. Is it a rear rotation on the break-in? Oh, clip of the... the rear is pretty much on edge there anyway, and he clips the curb. So, Fielder Clifford, though, we're back to him, because he is now all the way up to the backside of Dave Newsham, and they've lost half a second on Matt Allen, who is probably just sat there thinking, please don't get through, please don't get through, please don't get through. Just keep fighting, boys. Oh, a tap up the backside by Newsham. On Newsham by Fielder Clifford, who comes back on towards the racing line. David Ward is along the outside as well as they go through Luffield on the exit. He's going to be hung out to dry if he tries it, though. Yeah, no, Fielder Clifford gives him more than enough room on the exit there. The better, more than could be said for his move on Dave Newsham, who is basically had two mistakes of his own and one. Oh my days, Dave Ward, where are you going? He's absolutely flown around the outside, around cops. Tell you what, if you see anybody do that in real life, you send me a video of it, because I don't believe that's entirely possible. I think Dave Ward's just basically broken physics there, and not sure how exactly he's done it. I've only ever seen that move done on the first lap of a race, and that's because everybody sort of dives to the inside and people just abuse track limits and go around the outside. But Dave Ward now into second place. 7.2 seconds, though, the gap between himself and Matt Allen. Fielder Clifford is looking up the inside to take that second position back, and he may well have it as well. How much momentum can Ward carry around the outside? Oh, I'll tell you what, they're getting close, aren't they? Oh, they're getting very close. Door-to-door action here from Ward and Clifford, Fielder Clifford, as David Ward retains his second place. My days, my voice is going to be gone. I think Dave Newsham's had another crash. I really want to see what happens to him before. Oh, round goes Michael Seal, as I think that is Colin Martin goes through into fourth place. And I think we're going to see more of that coming forward. Let's have a look and see what happened to Dave Newsham. So this is where he's all on his own. He's now all the way down to 9th place, and we'll see why. He's coming out of Stowe into the Vale section here. And there we go. Yeah, too much speed. In fact, it doesn't go too badly. Oh, no, it got worse. Doesn't matter. So unfortunately, I can't see a replay of what happened to Dave Newsham just yet. I'm trying my best to see if I can find it. I may have found it. Sorry, I was silent for a little bit there. That's because we were trying to find this moment as Jack Fielder Clifford went into the back of Dave Newsham. And you can say that's just, we just joined it after the contact was made. But there we go. Dave Newsham goes around trying to counter steer that, but the steering rack doesn't allow it in these cars. And all of a sudden we are, as we are basically in Jack Fielder Clifford has actually had a crash while we've been away. So all of a sudden, David Ward has no one in his way and no one challenging him behind to try and catch up to the race leader for the final 17 minutes of racing. This is going to be very exciting. 18 minutes of racing, sorry. Let's see how much time Matt Allen and David Ward, what's the difference between their times? We'll have a look at what happened to Fielder Clifford, though, obviously. This is him behind David Ward. So is it just trying to push the car too much? Yeah, he got on the power too much and ended up spinning around. Very easily done, as we've seen plenty of times before in these Porsches. Andrew Holmes, unfortunately, has had a crash as well, and he's trying to fight with Matthew Hodges here. As Holmes goes around, I think this is going to be a carbon copy. Essentially, yeah, basically just exactly the same incident that Jack Fielder Clifford had a couple of moments before that. So Fielder Clifford is still exactly where he qualified, and actually he's fighting with one of the drivers that he ended up, oh, he was driving with just before, Jeff Purkis. Matt Hodges is in 7th place and is his teammate trying to fight, as I said, back through the order. He's up to 7th. He's one of the flying lads. I think he's actually got the fastest lap of the race. So expect to see Hodges have a fight with Purkis and then his teammate soon. 6.8 seconds the gap. It's coming down. It is coming down. The last lap, he was 0.3 of a second quicker than Matt Allen. And all of a sudden, all the cars have spaced out quite nicely. So, yeah, if you want to ping a comment in the chat, giving your support for your favourite drivers or anything like that, that would be awesome. I just realised I may have missed out on all the YouTube comments. And I am sincerely sorry if I have. In fact, let me just quickly try and get to it. I am sincerely sorry if I have missed out on any of the comments on the I've only had the Facebook one up. In fact, I haven't missed out on that many, so I don't feel quite as bad. That's okay then, isn't it? Let's just come off of that. So, where it is nice and close, Jeff Purkis and Matt Hodges. Fielder Clifford is all of a sudden behind his teammate and behind Jeff Purkis. So, the Solar Sim Racing cars have swapped round. And actually, Purkis is still in the middle of a solar flare, you could say. But he's the two drivers that have sort of swapped round, as I said. Let's have a see if we can see what happened there. Because Jeff Purkis passing on... Jeff Purkis passing Fielder Clifford. And in fact, so yeah, there we go. So it was all sort of mixed up going down the Bentley Straight towards Stowe. And yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I think we've had a slowdown there for Fielder Clifford. So all of a sudden, after such a strong start, he's actually lost 2 places on where he started, unfortunately. So, fastest lap of the race. Okay, so this man, David Ward, is a 2-minute 5.3. Not quite what we were seeing in qualifying, but still about half a second quicker than what we were seeing in the first qualifying. So he's really got his head down now. And 6.5 seconds is the gap. And to be fair, actually, Matt Allen slightly responded that time round. He's finally put in a 2-minute 5. It was a 2-minute 5.7. So it was still roughly half a second between the two of them, but it was a lot less of a difference than we were expecting before. So all of a sudden, Matt Allen is starting to try and turn it on as well. The risk here is that he could end up obviously overdriving and spinning the car. And just there you go. You can see David Ward in the background now. So there is a substantial amount of the Bentley Straight. And if you look at the track map on your right-hand side of the screen, you can see just going around Stowe now is the number 1 car. That's the Misty Racing driver that we're currently watching. And then coming around Stowe now is David Ward. So you can keep an eye on that track map for now. I will keep it on for this race because it is quite useful to have as we go through the rest of the race, basically. Thank you very much to everybody who's shared and liked the stream. I am very pleased to announce as well, this time last week I was very excited because we passed 500 followers on the channel, and I didn't really get to say a proper thank you last time round, but I will say it this time because it made me a little bit emotional last time. Thank you very much to everybody who's joined us on this journey. 500 is a landmark I didn't expect to do. I'm going to set another goal. I'm going to set 750, I think. 750 followers. And with any luck, maybe... In fact, no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the 1,000 followers. And I'm going to hope that maybe we get there before next Christmas. That's going to be my 2021 aim for the channel, is to try and hit 1,000 subscribers or 1,000 followers on Facebook. That'd be unbelievable. We have 501 so far. With any luck, we'll get there. So that is the goal. And you can see that. I can send that to you now. So thank you very much to everyone who has followed up until this point. Hopefully we get there. In fact, thank you very much, Martin Ward, number 502, for the follower count as well. We're well on our way to 1,000. Right, we got a race going on, haven't we? I heard somewhere that we have a race going on. Jeff Perkis, and who has now been passed by Fielder Clifford. I feel like I need to focus on this. Well, apologies if I missed anything. Let's have a look. It's actually because the SSR crew... In fact, no, that's what we saw before. This is what I'm looking for. So, Perkis going wide round Stowe. Fielder Clifford really hooking up the Apex 90 there. You wouldn't know that the tyres are going off at all, would you? And he just drives at the inside of Jeff Perkis, and I don't think Perkis has the opportunity to respond. No, so really good driving by them. Lee Horn and Ollie Waynes. Lee maybe lining up a bit of a move here for the RAF driver. Ollie, who obviously is a little bit under the water, a little bit here and there. If anybody's been following the race, or following the racing, you will know that Ollie Waynes is probably in the wrong place in the wrong time more than any other driver. He seems to be, just collected in nearly every other incident, which is a real shame. But at the moment, he's running pretty strong, trying to fight for that top 10. At the moment, though, he's in risk of losing out to one of the other next-gen drivers in Lee Horn. Jamie Dory is ahead of him. And in fact, I'm looking for the other next-gen driver. It's Jochen Siggert. He's down to 14th place. Chris Knox is 13 laps down. I think he ended up... I think he completed the first lap, and that's about it. Oh, what's happened to Jamie Dory there? Oh, I thought there was a lockup. Andrew Holmes has had a crash. Maybe that's the puff of smoke I was looking at. And I think it was. So all of a sudden, Andrew Holmes and Jamie Dory are side by side pretty much. And this is why. There's the rear tyres going. And was that just too much throttle coming round the left-hander there? All of a sudden, he comes back on circuit. Doesn't lose any places. Loses an awful lot of time. And there's Jamie Dory. And there is Jamie Dory yet again, trying to fight down from Mr. Holmes. I'm actually on a binge watching Sherlock Holmes at the moment, which is why I keep saying it like that. Me and my girlfriend watching that downstairs. So, it's nice to have Mr. Holmes here today. Dave Newsham, in fact, I'll tell you what, actually, we'll go back to that. Jamie Dory and Holmes now going side by side through Abbey. What can they do? It's through Cops, my bad. Wrong bit of the track. Again, they are very, very similar first corners. But they're nothing doing for Jamie Dory just yet. Holmes still holding on to that position. And if we're looking at a few last lap comparisons sort of thing, Jamie Dory actually put 2 minutes 11 seconds in on that last lap. So he had a problem somewhere, which maybe ends up why he's a little bit further down than he would like. He's currently in 10th position, which is where he qualified. But all of a sudden, this could be a four-way battle if these two... if Holmes and Dory keep fighting. Ollie Wayne and Lee Horn will probably catch back up and then start sniffing another opportunity. Fielder Clifford is very close as well, or been caught very close by Jeff Perkis, who is in turn being caught by Dave Newsham. So this battle, not quite as close, but still reputable. And this is how it goes, isn't it, really? Sometimes the sort of action can go a little bit spaced out. This is what endurance racing is basically all about. a little bit spaced out, and all of a sudden they all start fighting all at once. By the way, if we're looking on board watch, Ward is now only 5 seconds behind Matt Allen with less than 10 minutes to go. And I think he needs to catch a little bit quicker than that if he's got any chance of overtaking him before the final lap. Wide goes there, Holmes by Dory trying to get on the inside, not quite happening again. These guys are really struggling. Dory and Wayne and Horde, sorry, are really closing up. And what a fight we have here for the top 10, because this is the fight for the top 10 territory. As Dory fakes to the inside, goes back to the outside. He's trying to carry the momentum. Horn's up the inside of Wayne's. Horn, I think, has just about got that move done. Oh no, Wayne's turned him round, and after I said that Wayne was the unlucky driver, he's the one who's ended up turning Lee Horn round, and we're going to have a quick look at that from Wayne's perspective. Go on the roll bar view. So he's going a bit wide there. Horn's up his inside, remember, on the left-hand side. Oh, it's difficult. I mean, I think judge that how you want to be judging it, but I don't think there's much Ollie Wayne can do about that particularly. I think Lee looked like he was squeezing them out, and maybe the spotter said it was clear. I don't think it was clear. Racing incident perhaps deemed for that one, but it is a real shame for Lee Horn, and a shame for that battle because it was really heating up. These two are still going at it though. It's Holmes and Dory. By the way, Matt Allen's just set his own personal best lap. It's still 0.3 of a second slower. Sorry, 0.2 of a second slower than Ward. So Ward is still catching. Holmes though is just still holding out on the 10th place. I think we've had another incident actually. I'm not sure who's fallen down the order, but all of a sudden this isn't for the top 10. This is for 9th place. Dave Newsham up ahead is pretty much alongside Jeff Perkins. So these guys have replied. Oh, Dave Newsham goes round, and we've had three sort of self-made errors by Dave Newsham, and one where he's been hit off. Let's face it, not ideal for him. What's happening to Michael Seal at the moment? He's very nice and close to Colin Martin. These guys are fighting for a podium position. Fair and square as well, hopefully, because we've got only 6 minutes left of this race, and we are very close to sort of rounding out the evening, and obviously rounding out the podium here. 2 seconds, Dave Ward from Matt Allen. We're going to have to start looking at that one. What on earth has happened to Matt? Oh, Matt Allen's been off track, so we'll cut to that. Oh, there's a tap at the backside for Colin Martin by Michael Seal. Michael trying to carry a little bit more speed than he anticipated Colin carrying. Jack Fielder Clifford as well. He's 0.2 of a second. I'll tell you what, this is actually fighting right back. No, sorry, not that one. There's battles everywhere you go, and to be honest, we can't. In fact, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll very quickly see what happens to Matt Allen. Oh, he gets a snap oversteer. Snap oversteer. He has to rejoin the circuit, and that's exactly what he didn't want to happen. Everything has gone Matt Allen's way so far this race, apart from that, and that could be the point where we see the change happening now. 5 minutes to go with this race. It's 1.7 seconds. That's basically slipstream territory for Matt Allen and David Ward. Fielder Clifford, though, he's got his teammate ahead of him, Matt Hodges, though he won't probably be pushing him too hard unless Jeff Perkins decides to turn up. And this is basically a repeat of the earlier sort of race that we had, wasn't it, between these guys? But obviously Jeff ended up losing out on that one just a touch. Ollie Waynes and Holmes. So Holmes has had a bit of a problem, I think. And no, I think Ollie Waynes just driven through all of them. And we'll have a look and see if we can find what happened here. Oh, they're going 3 wide. And is this going towards Stowe? It is. They're going 3 wide through Stowe. Wayne going on the outside is a fantastic move. Going around the outside of Dory and then carrying the momentum to go up the inside as well. And no wonder Holmes had to lose the place to Dory as well. He had a slam on the brakes. Well done to him for taking evasive action. Jamie Dory's been off track. Where has he been off track? Going round the final corner. Oh, big slide. And I hate to say it, I've done that myself in the wet and ended up into the pit wall as his teammate. Oh, Jesus. You'd have thought that Lee Horn would probably give him a heads up. I'm coming through. Don't accelerate. But no, it wasn't to be. So Michael Seal and Colin Martin In fact, Matt Allen's just about held off from David Ward. He did lose 3 seconds on that last lap. But, as I said, realistically, Ward's only catching by about half a second a lap, apart from obviously that last lap. And we only have about 3 laps to go. So, it will go down to the wire, unless, obviously, Allen starts to make another mistake. So, what's been your favourite battle tonight? Who you enjoyed watching? Let me know on the comments. That'd be awesome. Kay Baker, come on, Dave Newsham. More Kyle on the radio, spinning him right round. Unfortunately, it's been a great race, and to be fair for Dave, it's not really gone his way. Well, his own driving in a lot of ways, and obviously a few incidents here and there. Haven't really gone his way either, but he drove really well in qualifying in the first race, so you can always watch that one back. Here goes Michael Seal up the inside of Colin Martin then in the Power Max liveried car. Colin goes very wide through the first corner through Abbey, going to the left hand side now. Michael Seal gets his car ahead, and as we go into the final couple of laps, it is Michael Seal now having that final podium position. Let's have a look and see. David Ward, that's how close they are now, 1.5 seconds between them. Matt Allen actually on that last lap gained a tenth of a second ahead of Ward, but these two drivers are really far. 13 seconds ahead of Michael Seal, sorry, in third place. So they really are sort of the class of the field in this particular race. David Ward obviously having a massive incident at the start, and it's taken them 43 minutes to catch back up to the race leader and Matt Allen, who, as I said, has had everything go his way. He's avoided all the incidents, but then he's had drama behind him as well. So it's been really good by Matt. Colin's not giving up the ghost, you know, though. He's wanting that podium position if he can get it, but he's going to have to fight tooth and nail to try and get it away from the Fast R driver, who could well see a double Fast R podium if David Wood obviously stays where he is or improves, and Michael Seal holds off Colin Martin. I think that might be the first time we see a Fast R double podium, which would be pretty cool. And obviously there's about 4 or 5 Fast R cars on circuit at any one time. Obviously we're missing 1 or 2 drivers tonight, with Freddie Hewitt hasn't seemed to have turned up, but I know a lot of these drivers have plenty of commitments in terms of other race series that they get on with as well. The PDC ran yesterday, that I know I saw a couple of the Fast R drivers in, but 1.2 seconds the gap. We're going to have to focus on this race lead for the final lap of the race. It's all come down to this. It's 1.2 seconds. That's well within slipstream territory for David Ward, but is it going to be within slipstream territory enough to overtake Matt Allen? That is the question. That is certainly David Ward's lips and everybody who's obviously a Fast R supporter. 30 seconds left on the clock. Michael Seal still sealing out from Colin Martin. We'll keep an eye on it, but for obvious reasons, we have to keep an eye on this one, because it's not only for the win, it's also for championship points. David Ward lost out a few. He could claw back 1 or 2 more here if he can just stay ahead of Matt Allen. I think there's a gap of about 4 points between them at the moment in terms of if they finish like this, in terms of, I think Matt Allen will gain 35 and I think David Ward will gain 31 or something like that. So it's not a massive advantage from Matt, but it is certainly worth having. And a flash of the lights from David, trying to put the Misty Racing driver off his course. Not quite having it yet is David Ward, but then again, one of the most difficult sections of the track is yet to come in the Magnus Beckett's Church. How are they going to attack this? Matt Allen really needs to just carry on trying to attack it at full pace, because you know David Ward will. He's got nothing to lose. It's easier to chase than be chased. And there we go. All of a sudden, a tenth of a second eaten away already. And the last thing that Allen needs to do, is to lose that time. Seal still ahead of Martin. Fielder Clifford still just behind Hodges, but ahead of Perkis in a couple of the other fights that we've been seeing. I think it looks like Ward is going to have to settle for second place. He's gained another tenth, but it's not going to be enough. Unless Allen makes a mistake in the final couple of corners, he's going to have the second race result done and dusted. And after what was a terrible Monza experience for him, he could come out of Silverstone with a win to his name, and it's going to be Matt Allen to take the checkered flag across the line from David Ward. The championship battle will go down to the Nordschleife next week. Michael Seal in third place is going to just about take the podium position away from Colin Martin, and it's been a great battle between those two for the final step of the podium. Colin Martin comes home in second place. Oh my days, my voice is gone, and we haven't even had everybody across the line yet. Ollie Wayne then, he did get his top 10 in the end, but obviously the stewards might have a look at an incident with Lee Horn earlier on. Mr. Holmes and Mr. Dory ended up quite a long way back, so I think there was a little bit more drama added to the action around the end of that lap, or the end of that race. But we've had two cracking races, a 15-minute sprint and a 45-minute epic here at Silverstone. It wasn't all action all the time, but it was certainly very interesting, and a lot of drivers up and down the grid really showed their good racecraft, and a few drivers obviously getting a bit unlucky or not showing just as much racecraft as others. Oh, pardon me, as Matthew Addy drives into Lee Horn. But it's safe to say that Matt Allen will be a very happy man as we see him coming through the final couple of sectors. We'll try and bring you the results before I will bring you the results before I hop off, but maybe a chat to one of the drivers who may well come into the interview waiting room, as I've just clicked the wrong button on my computer. Luckily, I hope that hasn't lagged anybody out. In fact, we may well have a chat to Dave Newsham again. We'll see if we can get the results up, which should be on their way as soon as Thomas Delaney. We're just waiting to probably a bit of a giveaway for where he's going to come, but we're just waiting for him to cross the line. And as that happens, we should be able to bring you the results sooner rather than later. And in fact, here they come. So, Matt Allen confirmed race victor for race number 2 here at Silverstone. And the penultimate round, some championship points clawed back as from David Ward, who came in second place after recovering from an earlier incident. Michael Seal ends up topping the best of the rest in third place, and that means 2 Fast Star esports drivers on the podium. Colin Martin in fourth, Matt Hodges rounds out the top 5, Fielder Clifford in 6th place, Jeff Perkins in 7th, Dave Newsham ended up in 8th, Ollie Wayne in 9th, Lee Horn gets that top 10, even though he had an incident with Ollie Wayne earlier on. Andrew Holmes in 11th place with Jamie Dory in 12th, Matthew Addy in 13th with Jochen Sigurdt in 14th. Sam Holman ended up in 15th with Thomas Delaney on 16th, but everyone apart from Chris Knox was on the lead lap of the race. So I've covered a lot of series where that hasn't happened, an awful lot, so I think we can be pretty proud of that. And before we jump off, let's have a quick chat to one or two of our drivers. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring both of them in at the same time because they are both teammates. So I have brought you both in. So well done to the Fast Star boys. I think that's the first time that we've had a double Fast Star podium.
Is that right? No.
I think
Okay,
Freddie got
awesome.
one, didn't he? Possibly, but if not,
Freddie might
I'll-
go
if
on.
not,
We'll
I'll
take it.
Well, from my memory, I think it is. Obviously, I think Freddie Hewitt maybe, but I think that's the first time from my memory anyway. So, David Ward, we'll speak to you first. Obviously, you had to come back from a little bit of a bump and a bruise, didn't you, early on in that race? And it was a harder one than the first race. Put it that way.
Yeah, it made it a little bit more interesting, I think. Yeah, I got an awful start. Back in the pack. A little bit of elbows out. Really didn't want Newsham and Matt to get away. Managed to get past some of the pack, and then started chasing down Matt at the end. Great pace from him. Really tough to catch. I think we were just like there was tenths in it between us, and I was just nibbling away at him. But yeah, just not enough at the end. So well done, Matt, if you're listening. Really good drive, mate. Yeah, there's not much more to say. I'm happy with, obviously, considering at the start of the race it went to crap. So I'm quite happy with the result.
Well, I never try and put too much of an opinion on while I obviously commentate, but yeah, your race start probably wasn't as desired as you were hoping for. Michael, we'll go on to you then. So you must be very pleased because you've been consistently improving your lap time and your pace from basically the get-go of this series, and you have sometimes been caught up in a couple of incidents. This must really feel like a race win for you.
Oh yeah, this is as good as a race win. I've been trying to use David all season to close in on lap times and learn from him on his telemetry, and this is most probably the best race I've had all season, and over the moon with it, and raced Colin well at the end there. Colin didn't make it easy, so just about trying to get to the end in here.
Yeah, I was going to say, you that battle with Colin, obviously something that you must be really pleased with. We didn't catch all of it. We caught sort of the tail end of it, but it looked like you were fighting for a substantial amount of that race, to be fair.
Yeah, or it is. I had a reasonable start. I saw David go backwards, and then he closed up to me. So then, I've sort of said to say, David, when he closes, we'll then chase down the pack and use David to make the gaps. And then something happened between Newsham and Jack, I think. And then it was just a case of trying to stay with Colin and bringing it home.
Well, you certainly did that, and I did have one question that occurred to me during that 45-minute race as well. Both of you may be able to answer. Where is Freddie Hewitt today? Is he working, or is he just unable to make it?
He's been concentrating on a Skippy League, so his focus has moved over to that.
Is that the PDC yesterday?
Yeah, that's the PDC League. So he's been focusing on that, and what we tend to try and do is focus on one car and one championship, because I can't speak for the other drivers, but I can't switch on driving the different cars, and the Porsche is so different to drive than any of the other cars on iRacing. You gotta really hone it in.
Well, fair enough. Well, we're obviously very pleased to have you guys as well, and Sam obviously as well, who didn't have quite the race that I imagine he wanted. But yeah, no, well done you two for the Fast R crew. Is there anybody well, we've already done David. I tell you what, Michael, is there anybody you would like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to Faster and it's all the guys involved. It is because like to Dave and Freddie and Sam and Chris have all helped me along the way to get up to this podium. I wouldn't be here without them. So it's just a case of saying thank you to them, not really.
Well, cracking, well done, and well done to the Fast R boys, all of you, obviously, and good luck to Freddie and the PDC. And we will round out going to the Nordschleife. You both looking forward to it? That's a good response.
I don't think I know my way round it yet, so that's going to be the next thing.
Don't worry, I've commentated on it, I think, about 10 or 12 times on 6-hour races. I still don't know the way around it. So it's good luck in learning it in this week.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot.
We'll let you both go, and congratulations, and we'll see you next week.
See you later, mate. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
And that was Dave Ward and Michael Seal, and we're going to round out the evening. Thank you very much for watching. It's been absolutely cracking, just like the Porsche PMR always is. I sound slightly surprised, but I shouldn't be, because it's always great. We're heading to the finale, the Nordschleife, next week. It's closer than ever, pretty much. I think going into the final round of the between Michael Seal, David Ward and Matt Allen. So, if you want to catch it, make sure you're following, make sure you're subscribing, wherever you're watching this, basically. Make sure you come back to it at 8 o'clock next week, and we'll be bringing you all the action from the Nordschleife, the Porsche PMR Cup Series. Thank you very much for watching. My name's been Jack Oliphant.